Let's do it. Right here on Last Call. My name, Caden Colford, Jake Helton. To my left, as always, and Landon's looking good over at our desk to my right. So we're getting closer to the end of basketball season at the college level, at the NBA level, and that means somebody's got to win it all. So we're going to be talking what championship caliber teams look like on the NBA scale and the Division I scale. And even as the Greyhounds get closer and closer to the conference tournament, we'll talk some D2 hoops as well. But the question being waged today, looking at the league in particular, what wins championships? What is the most important factor to getting a ring for your program, your players, your coaches, your front office, everybody? I want to open up the floor for Jake Helton. What wins gold?
Well, we bring up this question because there's two teams right now that we're keeping an eye on in the West. Maybe three, if you will. We're keeping an eye on the Nuggets, the Thunders, but we're also keeping an eye on the Spurs. The Spurs, they've got the talent, don't necessarily have that experience. They haven't had a run with this team. They haven't necessarily had a chance to go deep in the playoffs. They haven't gotten that championship experience. That can be an issue, but I would argue that this talent right here, and you're going to see him go at Chet. That's the first play of the game right there. Here he is, pump fake. Kick to the corner, and this is great ball movement. You thought it was a three. No, that's Luke Cornett coming in from absolutely nowhere to dunk on somebody. Block off the backboard right there. Here's Luke Cornett, another screen. Gets downhill, a nice roll, and a nice float shot. This offense is very well formed, and they work well with each other. There's the dunk from Cornett. Wemby's averaging 24 and 11 right now. I would argue that the talent can overpower a little bit of experience. A couple good games from him, and I think you can put yourself ahead in a series to where you can hang on and win maybe in a 7-game series.
All right, Landon, talk me through what you're thinking as Jake says all this about the Spurs and about Wemby.
Yeah, definitely. Talent is so important in the league, and experience also very important. But we did see last season the second youngest NBA championship team ever in the Oklahoma City Thunder, only 25 years old in average age. But the experience is very important, in my opinion. That is the most important part, because you can get there to the playoffs, but once you get to the playoffs, it is a completely different beast from the regular season. We saw that OKC team be completely dominant in the regular season last year, and then they get to the playoffs and they started to struggle a little bit. They played against the Denver Nuggets in the second round, the champions from the year prior, and ended up taking that series all the way to 7 games. Denver almost beat them, and Denver, I don't really feel like that was their strongest team. Obviously, they have Nikola Jokic, they have Jamal Murray, but the surrounding pieces, I don't feel like they were there. I feel like the Nuggets took a big jump this season, and but OKC's talent is definitely up there. I just think that experience can trump that if you get to that scenario.
How do you guard that? That is just, Shea is an absolute baller, so I can't argue, but I would still go back to, yes, they have a year of experience under their belt, but it started last year with the talent that Sam Presti put together. This team is very talented because of the people around SGA. He's got 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that are going to be playing on a consistent basis, and we even got a chance to really see a lot of those guys because the top 5 guys for them were out of the rotation for about a month. Now you get SGA back. Now they're getting things going back in the right direction for postseason, but I would argue that while experience is a very big part of that, the Spurs have a little bit of experience. You don't necessarily have to have a team of experience. Harrison Barnes is a great piece to this team because he's going to go in, he'll get a couple boards, he can shoot threes, he's a spot-up corner shooter, and that's what they need him for. But he's also a locker room presence. I talked last week about Kevin Love being such a great locker room guy for the Cavs at the time, and now doing it for the Jazz. There's a lot that goes with that, and you see it at every different level. A lot of those guys that we talked about last week who should retire, the reason why they're still getting paid, the reason they're still in the league is because they provide value in the locker room. They keep the team together. They're the ones, what we call team bonding, they're the ones at the head of that. If they're out going out to play at Topgolf, this is the guy that's organizing it all, this, that, and the other. They have a Harrison Barnes. They have a guy like that. So Wemby can go out and give you 40 points. He can beat, I would say, one team. There's one team, and that is the Oklahoma City Thunder that I don't think one man can overpower. I think Wemby can overpower the Nuggets. One good game out of him, one bad game out of Joker. They're on a bit of a skid right now. I will say their stats are very, very impressive. And the Nuggets, though, to me, it's going to come down to can they shoot the 3 ball well in the postseason. last year didn't really shoot all that well, and they lost because of it.
Well, as we talk about the Nuggets, let me split the difference for you guys. You have talent and you have experience. Both are great. Both can add a lot to your team, but your championship aspirations go nowhere if this team doesn't gel. Chemistry is an absolute necessity. I think it is the #1 trait that you're going to see in every single final squad to hold up the trophy. You look at the last 5, the Thunder, the Celtics, the Nuggets, the Golden State Warriors, and the Bucks. And even on teams where we are seeing a roster driven by one guy, whether it's Jokic, whether it's Giannis, whether it's Shea, or whether it's Victor to come in the coming years, you need a supporting cast. And that's where you give yourself and you give your team a chance to win in come the summertime, right? A front office builds that roster, but then it's on the players, then it's on the coaches to get things together, get them rolling. If you ask me, we go back to June, go back to May, the playoffs. Pacers should be NBA championships because they were the team with the best chemistry in the league. Tyrese Halliburton could go out and he could have 28 or he could have 12, and the Pacers would realistically have a chance to win every single game that they stepped on the floor in. I think this is why we see Denver as the lowest of the 3 because they've had some trouble trying to fill in some gaps. Michael Porter Jr. gone. Bruce Brown is gone and came back, but I don't know if he's the same Bruce Brown that won the finals with Denver a few years ago. Do you think I'm wrong in saying this, Landon?
Absolutely not. You saw him go to Indiana, get a big contract, then traded to the Raptors. He wasn't very good there, and then ended up signing back with Denver for not very much. But Denver, the big problem for them has really been the injuries. Currently, Aaron Gordon is out for a hamstring injury. Peyton Watson also out with a hamstring injury. They've been missing both of them a lot, having to run a lot of small ball lineups. But when you have a guy like Jamal Murray as a ball handler, that takes off so much pressure from your forwards. And then Nikola Jokic at the center, obviously a great facilitator. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been stepping up huge from beyond the three-point arc. He's been hitting shots. That was another big pickup from this past offseason. I mentioned I didn't really think the Nuggets had enough to get it done last year. I think they did a really good job at retooling this offseason. You had the Michael Porter Jr. trade. They traded him for Cam Johnson, who hasn't been the best, but I still think that he can be a very high-value player and do a little bit of everything for you come playoff time. And it's just another player at that wing spot where they're really lacking right now.
And you might be wondering why those highlights were back from the NBA Cup. Well, it's because that's the last time that those 5 really played together. It has been that long. Aaron Gordon's still dealing with the same injury he was dealing with in last year's postseason. And then Peyton Watson, that's also a huge loss for them. You mentioned it. It's the injuries. That's the reason why they are as lowly percentage-wise or odds-wise, I guess, in the odds books. That's why they are so low in that, but I think they should be a lot higher because of, like you said, a combination of all 3 of those things. They have the championship experience, they have the talent, and then they also have the chemistry as well. Although I will question a little bit with that chemistry not being on the floor as much this year. I wonder if that changes it a little bit. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but let's throw up the Oklahoma City Thunder stats real quick because I would like to take a look at them. You'll see, I have all these guys up here. That's your main guys right there. That's you add Jared McCain to that lineup, but they're rolling with a pretty solid 8 guys right there, which is what I would like to see, but they also have 2 more that they can go to in the bench, which is very necessary come postseason. But you'll see the one spot that they're rated a little bit low is going to be assists per game, but they shoot the 3-ball very well. Their effective field goal percentage as well. And then this is the big number right here. Turnovers per game. They are second best in the league at taking care of the ball come postseason. If you're not taking care of the ball, you're giving the other team extra possessions. It's wasted possessions.
Landon, these are 3 very, very tough teams. We're talking a lot about the West. It's always a terror to go through that side of the bracket. Do you have a favorite of the 3 that we've talked about?
From those 3, it is very tough to pick one. Out of them, you really have OKC, who is the reigning champion. They have the experience, they have the chemistry. You have Denver, who has the experience and chemistry as well, but just haven't been as well, have been struggling to get on the court, as we just talked about. And then the Spurs are the up-and-coming team. Victor Wembanyama can go out there. He can win you a game on any given night, and they have a squad full of young players. But I feel like you have to give the benefit of the doubt to the reigning champs, still #1 in the West. I feel like they're still a favorite.
Jake, I'll wage you the same question.
I think that I'm going to just stick with my answer. I'm going to go with the San Antonio Spurs. My initial thought, I think they can get over the hump. I think Wemby has it. They have the young talent, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle. They've got the pieces around Wemby to where if he doesn't have his best game, they can fall back on a couple guys, fall back on that three-point shooting and still win a couple games.
You know, I hate what I'm about to say. I really do. I hate it. But the Spurs are going to be the scariest team in the league for the next 10 years if Victor Wembanyama stays healthy. And I was having this conversation the other night. I feel like we have to rank Wemby player-wise low right now because once he gets up to the number 1 spot, he's not going to be gone for 15 years. Wemby is not going to be number 2 for 15 years as soon as he eclipses that number 1 spot. I don't think there's going to be anybody close. Maybe in a few years Cooper Flagg will be a great second. But I really think the Spurs are moving along a lot faster than people thought. Yesterday, they had a not-so-great game against New York, and I still thought that he was the best player on the floor at all times, even sharing the floor with Jalen Brunson. And coming from me, I mean, I don't talk about anybody more than I do Jalen Brunson, but the just attention and the magnitude that Victor carries with him, unmatched.
And he does it on both sides. He's got averaging 3 blocks a game at this point. He's going to be a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year for the rest of his career. They've talked about it. For the next 20 years, it's going to be Wemby and who else? Who's going to take on Wemby? He is going to be the Golden State Warriors. He's the big bad monster that everyone has to go chase down. But until they do, I think it starts right now, though. I think the dynasty starts right here. He will be a Spur for his entire career. I find it very hard to believe they would get rid of somebody like that. The city of San Antonio has fallen in love with him, and really all of the NBA has. I mean, other players love him, and it was a great time seeing him with everybody at the All-Star game not too long ago. But all that coming together, he's going to get some rest heading into the postseason. Right now, you're seeing him on a stretch where he hasn't had much of a rest due to that All-Star break. He didn't really get a break because he had to participate in that. So he's been a little bit exhausted is what he said the other day. He didn't have a great game against New York. In the post-game, he said, I'm a little tired, I'll be honest. So get him some rest, get him going in the postseason, and you could say that raises some red flags because they're playing so many games in succession. But I think come postseason, like you said, different mindset, different game plan. I think it favors the Spurs.
We're going to talk a little bit more Spurs basketball come the prime time pick in between me and Jake. Landon, thank you for your insight today. We're heading to a break, but stick around because we're talking college basketball next. It's March, and you know what that means. Things are starting to pick up. Things starting to get mad. As the bracket yet to come out, we're going to see a few bracket busters in our slate today. 2 teams that we're looking at that might just ruin your March, might even run your pockets. So one team that we're expecting to pull off a big upset in the month of March. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I don't know if our picks are going to win a national championship. That's not what we're saying. But if you're a team like a Purdue has been the last couple of years, or a Kentucky has been known to fall in that same boat.
Take a step back sometimes. And, this doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go on a run. This just means that they're going to come out and maybe surprise some people. Last year, the team that I picked did that. I think they have a chance to do it again. We'll start with you, though, boss man. Who you got?
I think that I'm taking the fan favorite in Miami, Ohio. This team, the only undefeated team in D1, and trust me, I know, I've looked at the schedule. I promise you, we're not seeing a Big Ten schedule. We're not seeing an SEC schedule or even a Big 12 or an ACC, and I understand this. They are playing out of the MAC. This very team plays Ball State. I know, but we look at their wins this year, and it's not like they're playing down to their competition every game. They're winning the majority of their schedule by double figures, and if big teams don't want to play you, what can you do? When we have the argument over should this team make the tournament, no question. They're the 21st ranked team in the AP poll with some dudes, and what sticks out to me as an upset threat, they have 6 guys on this roster shooting 38% plus from 3. And if you've been watching March basketball for any number of years, you know that any team can win and any team can get beat via that 3-point line.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good pick, and I would say they don't have to win the MAC. That's my take on this is they don't need to win the MAC. They're 29-0. They beat everybody that they've played. There's no reason to make them win the MAC. If they win, let's say Akron wins. If Akron wins, I think they deserve to be a tournament team as well. I think both of them would deserve to be a tournament team in that case because of what they've done. And like you said, just because some people didn't want to play them this year, what's the appeal of playing a MAC school in basketball? There's worse schools to play, there's better schools to play, there's less of a chance of winning, there's more of a chance of losing. You look at Akron. Akron's a team that can compete with some of the best teams in what we have right now laid out for us as the tournament. I've looked at a couple of brackets, and what I see, I think Miami's going to get a favorable matchup. They might get into that 8-9 game, or they might be a 10 seed, have to work their way in. But even then, I don't think it's the end of the world because I think they can win these games. They are a very, very talented squad, and wanted to make sure before I said this, but their best player, Peter Suitors from Carmel, Indiana. I thought I remembered watching him. The name has sounded familiar. Just wanted to double check before I did. But he's averaging 15 points per game, and you just saw the highlight reel. This team looks really good. I don't care about who they're playing. I care about what they're doing on the floor, and they do the right things. You look at some teams like this, and you're going to say, okay, they don't deserve to be in because they've had close games against bad teams. I completely disagree with that line of thought because if you blow out every team by 30 points, what experience do you get?
That's almost a red flag, right? Because you go into the tournament and you can't expect to win by 20, but you're playing these close games where you win by one basket. And if it's against UMass or if it's against Auburn, right, you have to go and be able to play those tough games, play through those scenarios.
I would argue that there's more pressure on you whenever you're playing a Western Michigan like they almost lost to them the other day. And I would argue there's more pressure on you because you're supposed to be this undefeated team that nobody can hang with, and you find yourself in a close game. You have to find a way to win those. And a perfect example of this, my high school, the best football team in the history of my high school, they outscored their opponents by an average of 40 points per game. It was the best team ever. They didn't even play a minute of the second half. The starters never played the second half in the regular season. They got to regionals. You know what happened?
What happened?
They had to play in the second half. Heritage Hills came out of nowhere. Beat them. Ended up beating them like 40-30. They were up by 30 in the first half. Heritage Hills came back because they didn't know how to play a second half. They didn't know how to play a close game. They ended up fumbling on the goal line because they didn't have to deal with those situations, high-pressure situations. Miami, Ohio they're well-coached, and they have a very good offense that I think can be effective in March.
And my last point that I'll make about Miami before we get into your take, Jake, is the fact that I heard a take the other day that was really good. And it's the fact that this team has been playing in the tournament since the middle of their season, because Miami knows that if you lose a single game, you are not going to make the national tournament. They have been playing for their tournament lives for the last 4 weeks, and they have lived up to the hype every single game. Home, doesn't matter. Away, doesn't matter. This team finds a way to win. They're tournament ready, and they're definitely going to go win their first game.
I think so, too. Another team that I think has a chance to win their first game has a little bit of experience winning in the first round. Clemson might know this team behind me, and if you didn't pick them, maybe you should have. But I'm going to go with McNeese State. And they are in the Southland Conference. They're currently second in there, right behind Stephen F. Austin. And I would say that they're obviously going to have to win their conference tournament. You can't see the score. It's below the lower third, but they're down by 50 in this game. This is against the best team in the country, though, in Michigan, or one of the best teams in the country in Michigan. So I look at that. They came out 2 games later. They knocked off Stephen F. Austin. They went 1-1 versus them. They went 1-1 versus the third best team in the conference. They finished 18-3 in conference play, 25-5 overall. They have the experience of playing a Michigan-like team in an environment like Michigan, which I think helps them out come postseason play. But it's this defense, man. This is one of the best defenses in all of college basketball. They were able to slow down Clemson last year. You get them the right matchup, and I think that's the key thing that I would like to point out is they're going to need a key matchup. Same thing with Miami, Ohio. You put them up against a Michigan, things aren't going to work out. But you put them up against, I would say Miami, Ohio can compete with Kentucky. Kentucky on a bad day is one of the worst teams in the SEC. Yeah. On the best day, they're maybe better than Duke. I mean, it is crazy how up and down. Their style of play fluctuates every day. Mark Pope's got to get that figured out. But McNeese State has done a great job this season of riding the wave. Every time they've lost, they've answered back with quite a few wins. They're on a 7-game win streak right now. Their best players, pretty good. Larry Johnson, 17 points per game on near 52% shooting from the field. They shoot the ball very, very well around the basket. Mm-hmm. Now, that game against Michigan is going to be a kind of a brown spot on the banana, so to speak. But come postseason time, doesn't matter. They do have to win their conference tournament. That is the key to this, is if they don't win, they're not getting in. So they have to win to get in, and if they do, I think they stand a pretty good chance of making some noise.
Adding to your points about them as a defense and them as a team, the ability to change the pace of a game has a huge impact when you play these big-name teams. When you're playing a 1, 2, 3 seed, they are used to dictating and playing a certain style of basketball. And that's why we see teams like Kentucky fall to the St. Peter's, right? Fall to the Fairleigh Dickinsons, because it's a completely different dynamic to the game. You're finding different looks. You don't know, the rhythm's different to your offense, and then passes all of a sudden start getting sloppy. Then shots that you usually hit aren't in the same cadence, right? It's one step instead of two, and then things just are all thrown off. And as a coach, you're scrambling. As a player, you don't know where to go, and then all of a sudden, you're down by 3 with 3 seconds left.
I think a good example of this is Alabama. Alabama has notoriously had the fastest pace of play for probably the last 5 years, ever since Nate Oates got there, I would assume. So they're always scoring in near 100 points per game. They're playing really fast, getting a lot of possessions in, which is good in the regular season, but come postseason, they ran into San Diego State last year, slowed down the pace of play. They scored in like the 60s, I think. Alabama wasn't ready for a game like that where every possession mattered, and that's why I say every game is valuable. Winning every game is valuable, but winning it in different ways is what is valuable for a team like Miami, Ohio. They've won by 30. They've won by 20. They've won by 2. They've won on a buzzer beater. There's not a way that they have not won. And for those people out there, this goes out to Bruce Pearl. You need to shut up. I mean, we get it. You're an ambassador for Auburn athletics, but let's be real. This is a Miami, Ohio team that has done all the right things. If this was any other team, if Auburn wasn't on the bubble, they were comfortably sitting in, you would definitely hear Bruce Pearl talking about it. He coached at a small school. He knows what this is like. His school is now a Division I. His former school is now a Division I school in USI. So he's got to understand that for Miami, Ohio, some of it is other teams don't want to come play you. It's hard to get that strength of schedule, strength of resume going in your favor. But when they do come out and go 29-0, you look at all of the good teams that have won and made upsets, made noise in the postseason. They have not been 0-loss teams. Oral Roberts, when they took down Ohio State as a 15 seed, they were a 4-loss team. You have room to grow off of losses, so maybe it hurts Miami, Ohio a little bit that they haven't lost because you do gain so much from losing, but this is a team with a chip on their back, just like McNeese State. I think they both come in, make a little noise if they make it in.
Watch your wallet. If you're looking for bracket busters, scared money don't make money. These two teams right here might just make you a killing. Greyhounds, they lost on Saturday, but we found out their matchup in the conference tournament. We're going to talk about what they can do against the Missouri S&T Miners come the conference tournament up next. Big-time games coming very rapidly for Indianapolis. A team that started their season off trying to scratch and claw to 500 earns itself a pretty solid standing in the conference. Number 4. Bad news is you're playing a team that was ranked nearly the entire season, the number 5 seed in Missouri S&T. Another piece of good news, you've beat this very team before, and you beat them pretty bad. This coming off of a loss against Quincy. They lost 83-82, but this isn't necessarily one you're going to lose sleep over, Jake.
Yeah, I think it was a game that you wanted to win, but assistant coach Mark Bailey, we talked to him after the game, it might have just been a case of maybe taking a team for granted, maybe looking ahead to the postseason a little bit too early. The Greyhounds came out hot, but then hit a dry spell. Just a couple minutes into the game, we were dealing with quite a few technical difficulties throughout this one, which definitely didn't help, but some bad foul calls, or well, some unfortunate foul calls, we'll say, on Kelvin Amoko, Sean Arnold, and Noah Kahn left the Greyhounds pretty limited with where they could go. Nate Orr had some big minutes for the Greyhounds in this game, which I think bodes them well heading into the postseason. They were missing Nate Tudukovic in this game, didn't have him available. So for the Greyhounds, you're finding a way to win without your best players. You look back to that Truman State game, Nate Tudukovic wasn't playing in that one, but this one hurts. I think you got to have a goldfish memory. Get rid of it, let it go, move forward, go to the postseason. You've got a team that you've played pretty well against the past 2 times. You'll look back to last year in that game against S&T, and score-wise might not look as good, but it was about 10 minutes to go in the second half, and it was a 2-point game. So
I'll tell you who played really well at S&T a few years ago was Kelvin Amoko, or last year was Kelvin Amoko. He had a really great first half, playing really well defensively against, again, I talk about S&T's front court as one of the best because it is. He had a few blocks, he had picked up a tech, and then he was in foul trouble, and then that second half he couldn't really do much because of the whistle being blown the way it was. And then we saw this most recent game, and if you could replicate that, amazing, but that's going to be very, very tough to do. And we've heard these reports of Missouri S&T convening a players-only meeting after the belt that they took against UIndy, and since then, they went on a tear. We saw 42 from Cam Stovall against UIS not too long ago. That's the leading scoring performance that GLVC has seen this year. This is a team that's performing very, very well. What's it take to get out of the first round for Indianapolis?
It's going to take a lot. Rebounding. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. The thing that has improved the most throughout the season for the Greyhound, and you'll see I have it highlighted up on the big board, they have rebounded the ball very, very well. The rebounding margin has turned in their favor. It's now almost 2 rebounds per game, but it started with that Missouri S&T game. They out-rebounded the Miners, and it helped them out a lot. Those few extra possessions can really help you. I'd say the one area that worries me a bit is the reason why they lost this game in my mind. They lost the Quincy game because of free throw shooting. Kelvin Amoko didn't have a great day at the line, but you could really say that about the whole team. It wasn't a great day shooting the free throw, and that's something that has to improve. You got to be able to finish games off and come postseason play free throws. The last 2 minutes of the game, how do you handle things? This game will help you out experience-wise, but I think you would have liked to come out on top, head into the postseason on that 7-game win streak. Still not the end of the world. You've got a very tough path in front of you if you're the Greyhounds. If you win, you're probably playing Rockhurst. If you beat them in the championship, more than likely you're going to see William Jewell. Those are the 3 best teams in the conference, in my opinion.
Greyhounds did not exactly hit the lottery when it comes to drawing their tournament spot. At number 4, you would think the road would be a little bit easier, but there is no easy road in the GLVC. That is for sure. I'm expecting big performances out of Carmelo Harris. He's been great, and he's been almost a sure 20 for the last game after game after game. Sean Arnold's going to need a big game offensively. I think that he's a guy that needs to be in double figures with his normal defensive performance. And then Kelvin Amoko, again, as long as he stays in drive, as long as he's able to get to the basket, get to the free throw line, and convert, that makes him 3 times a more effective threat.
And you could say we had this conversation just 10 minutes ago about experience versus talent, and I would argue that S&T has the experience. Last year, they were the number 1 seed. They got knocked out in the second round. They're hungry. And we talk about this 4-5 game as being the best game this year. It doesn't work out like that. Unfortunately, you're going to have to play the best teams. But you catch the number 1 seed coming out of the first round, might be the best time to get them. We've seen
Drury's a realistic threat. I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy, but I watched this team drop over 100 points against the Greyhounds. They did it against Rockhurst earlier this season. Drury was the last team to beat Rockhurst before Indianapolis.
You'll see right here the big wins. They beat McKendree twice. One of those games they were ranked. They beat number 16 at the time, Missouri S&T. Rockhurst is now ranked in the top 20, and UIS was the number 1 team in the GLVC for pretty much the whole season. So Greyhounds have played everybody they need to. They're probably not going to have to play Upper Iowa. Not worried about that. It really comes down to, can you win this game? You win this game, you might win the whole thing. I think winner of the 4-5 game won it last year. It was Lincoln who came out of the 4-5 game, went out and won it. There's a chance it could happen again. The GLVC is just a very weird place where the worst team can beat the best team. We just saw it. Quincy, they were outside the playoffs. Greyhounds were fighting for that number 3 seed, and, well, they came in and gave the Greyhounds an L. But heading into the postseason, all that matters is you put that behind you and you worry about the game ahead of you. Andrew Young, he's not worrying about that loss to Quincy. He's worrying about giving them a second straight loss and maybe heading to a GLVC championship. This is a team that has paid for their starting 5 to stay with them, and they haven't seen the same success they saw yet last year. I'd imagine that's probably going to make them want it just all that much more.
Greyhounds fighting for a championship. Jake and I doing exactly the same, but word on the street is I'm not doing so hot. This is the Primetime Pick Em. We're looking at 5 games this week. Pistons versus Cavs. In Cleveland, I'm riding with the Pistons. I have been for the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I'm changing up my strategy. I think I might be picking my favorite teams from here on out because my analytical view of the NBA isn't shaping out the way I would plan. Pistons winning Cleveland.
I was almost to that point. I think it was the NFL season. I was just getting to guessing at some point. But I'm going to go with the Cavs. I like what they got going still, all the pieces together. Jared Allen ended up playing pretty solid the other day whenever we talked about it. So I'm going to go with the Cavs.
All right, Jake, you and I were just talking about home court advantage in the NBA. I think it matters in one place all season. Madison Square Garden, Knicks are going to host the Thunder. Give me New York.
I don't think it matters if you're St. John's. Missed 24 straight shots at Madison Square Garden. Considered their home court. I'm going to go with the Thunder. I think the Knicks, they got a big win over the Spurs, maybe get a little complacent, and Thunder can come and knock them off.
All right. LA traveling to Denver. Jokic trying to knock off the King. What are you thinking?
We just talked about the Nuggets being one of the best teams in the West, and I think I'm going to stick with them. I didn't pick the Lakers last week, and they ended up beating the Warriors, but this is no injured Steph Curry. This is Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets. I'm going to go with them.
Mark it down. Denver wins this one. Clippers on the road against San Antonio this Friday.
It almost seems like a trap game. We talk about trap games at the college level. I don't know that there's necessarily a trap game in the NBA, but I have the Spurs circled, but I'm going to go with the Clippers. Change my mind. On the spot, I'm going with the Clippers.
No, I needed you to take the Spurs because I really feel like the Clippers are playing the best that they have all season. Benedict Mathurin's been a huge add for them. Kawhi playing at an all-NBA level. And there's not too many people that can keep Wemby out of the basket. If Kawhi gets that matchup, which I'm sure he will for at least part of the game, it's going to be a little tougher than normal. I'll take the Clippers as well. And finally, our last game, Mavericks going up north to play the Raptors.
Yeah, I'm going with the Raptors. I've slept on them quite a bit this year, but they're one of those quiet teams that just made their way up the ranks. I think they're sitting at the 5 seed right now, or right around there either way. But Mavs, I believe Cooper Flagg is injured as well, will not be playing, so that just adds to it. I'll go with the Raptors.
Well, I'm playing catch-up, so I have to pick opposite you here. I'm going against the Mavs on the road. I'm praying for an upset. But as we say that, let's go ahead and take a look at our records. I keep losing games. I'm falling behind. I'm falling behind fast. Season running a little faster than I thought it would. With only a few weeks left, I have some catch-up to do. As
definitely quick.
Said. Look at that. Rob Stroud, Carson Edwards, Romeo Langford, Jack Goldkey. Can't say that we don't know ball. How many of you know who those four are and their relevance to last call? And don't mind me losing 4 or 5 games.
This is what happens when they give me control over the graphic.
Man.
Oh, good times, good times.
If only we could watch Romeo Langford play again in the Hoosier
I wish.
State. We're talking about 4 dogs, talking about 4 winners. How about a champion? In the back room right now is Latif Mustafa, gold medal winner in the conference, men's and women's track field, won the indoor conference championships. That's my GOAT right there.
The GOAT.
Just a second shy of 10 minutes. Good for best in the conference and top 7 in the nation right now.
Also good enough to win them conference as a team, men's and women's take home conference champions. It stays here in Indianapolis. They were over in the Arc getting things done. I could hear the DJ music as I was walking back from Nickerson Hall on Saturday night. It was popping, as they would say. They had a DJ in there, a live DJ to MC the event. I thought it was pretty cool looking, pretty fun looking indeed. And, you know, It's always nice when you walk away with a little bit of hardware.
Well, if everything shapes up how it's looking right now, Latif and Jake are going to walk away champions, and I just might retire a loser. We'll see what we can do in these last however many weeks.
Might have to get some bonus points. Might have to get something fun going.
Well, if we could bet on the conference tournament, let's do it. I might make some money there. Hey, congrats, Latif, representing Last Call with the best of them. We'll be back next week.